What's up everyone, I'm CallumOnToast, and in today's video I'm going to be showcasing some shiny Shadow Shiftry action with Hurricane as a closer in the Spring Cup. Now I'm sure you're all bored of this meta, I personally am very bored of this meta, but I will say this is one of the most fun Pokemon I've run in the Spring Cup. There's just something so satisfying about nuking an unsuspecting opponent with that Hurricane. Anyways, with that being said, let's just get straight into the question of the day. Are you even still playing in the Go Battle League during this league rotation, or are you just patiently waiting for all three main leagues to return? Let me know in the comment section down below, and with that being said, let's get into the battles now. Let's go into the first battle in Kabuto into Ferrothorn. Obviously, this is an awful matchup for me. I'm going to be safe swapping into Shadow Abomasnow, and unfortunately met with a Fire Fang Marwar. Things going from bad to worse. Honestly, there's not a lot I can do here. I can go for an Icy Wind, debuff their attack. It's not going to help me out that much, but I guess it will allow my Kabuto to live any one charge move, which means I can save my shields for my shiny Shadow Shiftry. Going to come in with the Kabuto. The opponent is going to go and full send the play rough, but because I've debuffed their attack, I'm just barely able to hang on. They come back in with a Ferrothorn, but they get denied a fast move, and that is huge for me. This will allow me to swap out and save my Kabuto for a potential sacrificial swap, and I might need it in the end game here as the opponent comes in with their final Pokemon, a Golisopod. Now this one, of course, I've got Hurricane, but they've still got two shields in play. I'm definitely just going to go straight Leaf Blade, and hopefully by the time I reach a third Leaf Blade, I have put them into range where Leaf Blade will get the KO. I'm going to fire off Leaf Blade number 2. Leaf Blade is going to be shielded by the opponent. All shields are now down on the opponent's end. However, I'm actually going to shield up the Exeter. I'm then going to swap and catch the charge move. I wasn't 100% confident that a Leaf Blade would get the KO. Exeter takes out the Kabuto. They come back in with the Ferrothorn, and now we full send the Hurricane. Hurricane gets the one shot. They come back in with Golisopod, and this is certainly range where Leaf Blade will be enough damage to take out Golisopod, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on there into next battle. We see Kabuto into a shiny Shadow Galarian Weezing, so a much better lead matchup for me. The opponent's going to say swap into a Shadow for Alligator. I believe this will be the team that Yonkers showcased on his channel very recently. And before that video, honestly, for Alligator, not really used much in this meta, but now, of course, gaining a bit of popularity once that video did release. But either way, I fire off the Leaf Blade, and I massively overfarm. And this will allow me, when the opponent comes back in with their shiny Shadow Galarian Weezing, to reach a Hurricane. And do they respect the damage? The answer is absolutely not. We get the one shot, and there's a Lapras in the back. I can now farm up to very close to back-to-back Leaf Blades. The first one should be grabbing the first shield from the opponent. I'm able to reach another Leaf Blade before they can fully sideway farm me down, and at this point it's going to be game over. I've got all shields from the opponent. I come in with my Kabuto. I'm going to no-shield the first move here as the opponent goes for a Skull Bash. That is resisted damage. However, boosting up their defense, that will allow them to live a Rock Tomb. Rock Tomb doesn't quite get the KO there, but they will not be able to sideway farm me down, and so the opponent just concedes the match there. So, GG's up on there into next battle, set a Jellicent in the lead. So, of course, I've got two somewhat better answers, two Jellicent in the back. Shiftry, a great answer. So, I will stay in initially. Going to go for a Rock Tomb immediately as I can get there after 7 mud shots. Then I swap. I try to catch, hopefully, a Surf here, but the opponent is going to go and full send the Shadow Ball, and they're actually going to stay in with their Jellicent. Now, honestly, the fact that they're staying in means they're probably quite weak to the Abomasnow in the back. They do beat with a Surf, but that's okay with me. I'm now going to full send the Energy Ball here. I don't think Icy Wind would quite get the KO. I want to guarantee that KO there, but they come in with a Tropius. Now, I don't throw on the best timing. I wasn't entirely sure that I would live that Air Slash. Turns out I would have, so I'm now going to come in with my Kabuto. I've debuffed their attack there. I'm now going to, of course, shield the Leaf Blade, but they come in with their final Pokemon, a Shadow Cacturn. So I'm going straight for Rock Tomb here. Rock Tomb, going to grab the shield, but no, actually, it's not a Shadow Cacturn, and that means they cannot Sucker Punch farm me down. The opponent fires off the Trailblaze, boosting back up their attack. And of course, I'm going to come in with my Shadow Shiftry, but they should be 6 Sucker Punches away from a potential Dynamic Punch, so I'm able to swap, make the catch there. But can Shiftry do anything here? The opponent goes for Dynamic Punch. They swap out straight away into Tropius. I overfarm, but maybe slightly too much there. We go for the Hurricane. It gets the one shot, but I've left myself too low. I'm not able to reach a last-second Hurricane there. If I got damage registration error, maybe I could have done so, but either way, unfortunately, I don't get there. So GG's to the opponent. opponent, but into the next battle, we see a Tentacle in the lead. The opponent's going to say swap into a Shadow Amoongus. I respond with my Shiftry. Now, honestly, not a lot of people shielded my Shiftry when I did come in up against this Amoongus here. Pretty common team. I think this was another one that Yonka showcased early in the meta. But either way, Hurricane gets the one shot there. I am down a shield, but it doesn't really matter. They come back in with that Tentacle. I realize it's probably going to be a Cacturn in the back, but on the odd chance that it is going to be a Tropius in the back, I did want to save my Abomasnow. They're going to swap into Cacturn. We come in with the Abomasnow, and I can just safely shield up the charge move, go for a full Powder Snow farm down, and this game should be absolutely wrapped up right now. We're going to go straight for Icy Wind here. This is going to debuff their attack, permanently debuff it, as of course, they cannot swap out and clear that debuff, and it actually allows me to reach a second Icy Wind on my Shadow Abomasnow, and that's going to grab the final shield from the opponent. I can easily tank whatever they throw right now, even if they're running Hydro Pump, which is pretty much zero chance that they're running Hydro Pump. But either way, we go for the Rock Tomb. Rock Tomb gets the KO there, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG top end there. Does Tentacle even learn Hydro Pump? I can't remember. I feel like it does, but please do correct me if I'm wrong. And that would definitely be a zero chance that they're running it if that was the case. But either way, into the next battle. And speaking of movesets that I'm not sure about, I did actually initially want to use this instead of Kabuto, since I've already showcased it in this meta already. I wanted to use Omanite. However, I didn't realize Rock Tomb was a legacy move on Omanite. So I spent about 8 TMs just going back and forth between Rock Blast and Ancient Power. I realized that Brine was a legacy move, which is why I thought maybe the Rock Tomb wasn't, but yep, that was just a complete waste of my resources. And considering, of course, you guys know I don't often have many TMs, that was definitely not the smartest play on my end. But either way, they're going to come in with a Fire Fang Marwile, and this game is just over. There's nothing I can do. I do fire off the Leaf Blade, it does connect, however, it's not going to put them into farm down range. Power Up Punch, not going to do too much damage, but it does not allow me to reach another charge move. They can fully Fire Fang, farm me down, and unfortunately, I do lose that game. So, GG's up on there. Into next battle to see a Tentacle in the lead once again. So, going to stay in this matchup once again. I'm going to go straight for the Rock Tomb there. Even if they do swap out and make it catch, I don't really mind. I'm going to debuff whatever comes in. But they stay in. We go for Rock Tomb. We drop their attack. And at this point, I'm happy to match shields. If they shielded that, I probably would have shielded this. But they don't shield. I'm now going to overfarm just a little bit. Fire off the Aqua Jet. And this is resisted damage. However, from this range, it gets the KO. They're going to come in with Amoongus. So, I'm going to swap out into my Abomasnow. And they do have a Marwile. But it's not going to be on Fire Fang, which is huge for me. It is, of course, just going to be Astonish. We're able to grab a shield there. The opponent probably just clearly does not want to see this Abomasnow aligned to their Amoongus, but the Power Punch, because I've debuffed their attack there, not enough damage to get the KO, and they double shield their Marwile, and that is absolutely lovely for me. I'm going to come in with my Shiftry. They're going straight for the charge move. I'm just going to shield this regardless. They go for a Power Punch there. Don't really care. I'm still just going to double shield, and then I will wait for the opponent to inevitably swap back into their Amoongus, and they're just going to be met with a Hurricane from the Shiny Shadow Shiftry. Hurricane gets the one shot there. I can now outpace the Marwile to a Leaf Blade, and despite it being resisted, this is easily enough damage to take out the Shadow Marwile, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on there. Into the next battle, see a Shadow Marwile in the lead this time around. So, the opponent's going to say swap into Decidueye. I'm going to respond with my Shiftry, of course. I'm going to be resisting the Astonish damage. I'm going to shield this here because I feel like if they land a Spirit Shackle, they can flip this matchup. But they drop my defense, and you're going to see something pretty depressing here, at least for the Shiny Shadow Shiftry. Because of that debuff, they can just double shield and then fully Astonish farm me down. And despite the fact that I literally resist all of their moves, and I didn't double shield, but I, of course, did shield the only charge move they threw. They're still able to fast move farm me down. But is it going to be costly for me? Let's find out. I don't know if Marwile is on Fire Fang or not. And unfortunately, it's on Fire Fang. They've got Ferrothorn in the back. And that's a complete RPS matchup that the opponent needed to fight for. They're able to fight for. And now at this point, there's just nothing I can do. I can go for back-to-back Rock Tombs here. Instead, I do actually go for an Aqua Jet, but it doesn't really matter. I need Aqua Jet to get the KO, and it's just nowhere near enough damage. So at this point, I'm going to no shield. It's going to be game over. Power Whip gets the KO there. And I'm just going to let the Abomasnow go down at this point. There's no point in shielding this. Power Whip takes out the Abomasnow. And unfortunately, I do lose that game. But GG's to opponent there. Into the next battle, we see a Galarian Weezing in the lead. So a great matchup for the Kabuto. Going to resist the typical moveset, at least in this meta. They could be running Brutal Swing, but the opponent is going to go straight for a Sludge there. So that probably implies they're not on Brutal Swing. Either way, I'm going to fire off a Rock Tomb. Rock Tomb going to be shielded by the opponent, but because I've debuffed their attack, I can now live the next move as well. The opponent actually is on Brutal Swing, so never mind. I don't know why they went for Sludge there. Does it do more damage than a Brutal Swing? I don't know. I don't think it does. I think Jamie Finn mentioned in a recent video that I asked that question. He did respond to it saying, nope, it does not. So, yeah, don't really know why they went for the Sludge there. But either way, we're going to come in with the Abomasnow. I'm going to go straight for an Icy Wind here. Icy Wind is going to get the KO from that range. And I've got another Icy Wind if they come back in with that Galarian Weezing. Going to throw it straight away here. Icy Wind, of course, going to debuff their attack. We grab the final shield from the opponent. They're going to bank a ton of energy. They swap into Lapras. So I'm going to bank a Charge Move. Come in with the Shiny Shadow Shiftry. Go straight for Leaf Blade. Also, Shiny Shadow Shiftry is very satisfying to say as well. A little bit of a tongue twister, but either way, I'm going to shield. The opponent does go for a Sparkling Aria bait. And they do reach a last second charge move, but I believe this will just be another Sparkling Aria. I'm able to tank it, come out with the Leaf Blade loaded, and despite being resisted once again, Leaf Blade takes out Galarian Weezing, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on there. Into next battle, we see a Ferrothorn in the lead. So again, not great for me. Gonna say swap into my Abomasnow. And this time the opponent actually choosing to stay in. So I don't want to throw here just because I'm gonna have to use a shield anyways. Flash Cannon gonna do huge damage. They do bait with a Power Whip. But I'm just waiting for the opponent to possibly swap out of this matchup. They're not swapping out. So I'm gonna go for the Icy Wind, grab a shield from the opponent, fire off another Icy Wind. And now at this point, I should be able to live a Flash Cannon and they won't be able to farm me down. But they bank all of that energy. They swap out into a Shadow Alola Ninetales, so I'm just going to bank the energy as well. Come in with Kabuto. They actually bait with a Weather Ball. Fine with me. I'm not entirely sure if I could reach a Rock Tomb before they do reach potentially a Psyshock, which would actually be quite good in this meta because of all the Tentacruel that are typically going to wall this Pokemon. They go for a Psyshock and they are able to get the KO there, but that's okay. I've still got quite a lot of energy on the Abomasnow. I'm going to overfarm ever so slightly. I don't want to tank a Weather Ball, so just going to go straight for the Energy Ball there, get the KO, and let's see what the opponent wants to do. They come back in with the Ferrothorn. I think I'm definitely just going to shield this up. The opponent is going to go for another Power Whip. So at this point, I am starting to wonder, do they even have Flash Cannon? They just go for another Power Whip here. So probably on Thunder, which means, of course, that I kind of wasted my shields there, shielding up those charge moves. But either way, Energy Ball does huge damage. I can swap into Shiftry. Still able to outpace them to a Leaf Blade here. Leaf Blade, of course, gets the KO up against the Dugong. One more Snarl, takes out the Ferrothorn, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on there. Into next battle, we see Shadow Amoonguss in the lead. So, this is actually fine for me to stay in here. Of course, I can't outpace them before they reach a Grass Knot, but they go straight for a Foul Play. So, I'm fine with that. Now, I'm going to go for one Mud Shot, fire off the Rock Tomb. And then, if they let this go through, I will be swapping out. And actually, to be honest, I should be swapping out anyways. But they're going to come in with a Feraligatr. Now, I'm actually going to bait here. I very, very often do not bait here. But I'm going to go for the bait. Go for an Icy Wind, expecting it's a Feraligatr. They're going to shield anyways. And no, they actually call the bait. And that is incredibly painful. So at this point, I'm just going to let a Abomasnow go down. That is really embarrassing there. I should not be using a not using a shield, but going down to Feraligatr in that matchup. So we're now going to come in with the Shiftry. We're going to go for a Leaf Blade straight away, get the KO there, but they've got Galarian Weezing in the back. I'm going straight for Leaf Blade. This is maybe a little bit questionable here, but Leaf Blade is going to grab a shield anyways, and the opponent is now going to swap back into Amoonguss. I come out close to a Hurricane, and this point I'm thinking, you know what, if I'm able to reach a Charge Move on my Kabuto, grab the final shield, I could win this game. But I'm not able to do that, so unfortunately, might as well just go and throw the Hurricane anyways. The opponent might try and one shield flex, but no, they safely shield that up there, go for the Fairy Wind farm down, and unfortunately, I do lose that game, but a very, very winnable game for me if I just went straight for the Energy Ball up against that Abomasnow. Sorry, not up against the Abomasnow, up against the Feraligatr, but either way, GG's to opponent there. Into next battle, we see a Jellicent in the lead, so going to go for the Rock Tomb, and this time we are going to swap, make the catch once again, and the opponent is going to go for a Surf this time, which is huge for me, as that is resisted damage and debuffed. We're now going to go for an Icy Wind here. Icy Wind, not going to do too much damage up against the Mantine, but it does grab a shield from the opponent, and these Powder Snows have put them into range where if I come back in with the Kabuto, I can just go straight for a Rock Tomb, and it should get the KO. So we come in with Kabuto. This is just going to be another Aerial Ace, so I'm fine to let this go through. They are debuffed. It doesn't do much damage. It is, of course, resisted as well. Now I'm going to go for the Rock Tomb just before they reach another charge reef. It gets the KO up against the Mantine. I swap into Shiftry, and the opponent has their own Shiftry, but they panic swap back into the Jellicent. Now, I did face a couple of Ice Beam Jellicents recently, so I do use my shield there just to ensure that it was not an Ice Beam and I don't get embarrassingly one-shot by the Jellicent. But at this point, it's going to be game over. The opponent used their final shield. I'm going to go for that Snarl Farm Down, come out with the Hurricane loaded. They're actually on Feint Attack for some reason, but either way, Hurricane gets the one-shot up against the Shiftry, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG up on there into the next battle. See Araquanid in the lead. So, of course, this is definitely good to see it here, but they are going to resist the fast move damage, which definitely is not ideal. I'm going to go straight for Rock Tomb. The opponent also looking to throw straight away, going for a Bubble Beam. Rock Tomb going to, of course, be shielded as they can now debuff my attack. At this point, I'm going to no-shield this Bubble Beam, not going to do too much damage, and I have just debuffed their attack as well. I'm going to go for a second Rock Tomb here. Rock Tomb number 2, going to be no-shielded by the opponent, and that's fine with me. At this point, I might actually shield this up here, just because I need to land another Rock Tomb. I need to get rid of the Araquanid, or I need to at least grab the final shield from the opponent. So I go for Rock Tomb. Once again, Rock Tomb is going to grab the final shield. I swap into a Bomber Snow, but they've got Fire Fang Marwa as well. And at this fight, I just don't think there's anything I can do. Icy Wind, not going to do much damage. They actually get more farm because of that. And yeah, I just don't know if there's anything I can do at this point. We are going to wait out the Switch Clock here. I can't come in with Kabuto because they will just farm me down. Maybe I could have actually, because then I could have saved my shield. But either way, they'd boost up their attack. These Fire Fangs are chunking, of course. When Araquanid comes back in, the Bug Bites are going to hit for double super effective damage. I just can't do anything here. The opponent fires off a charge sheet, and they did actually overfarm quite a bit before swapping out. And it's going to be the Bug Buzz. Bug Buzz easily takes out the Shiftry. And unfortunately, I do lose that game. But GG up on there into the next battle. We see another Amoonguss in the lead. So once again, going to stay in this matchup here. I can outpace them before they do reach a potential Grass Knot. So going to fire off the Rock Tomb. Rock Tomb is going to be no-shielded by the opponent. And then swap, catch the Charge Reef onto a Bomber Snow, because there's no reason for them to fire off a Sludge Bomb there, because that will be resisted up against the Kabuto. They come in with a Marwa, but again, not going to be on Fire Fang. It is on Astonish, which makes this matchup a lot better for me. I go for the Icy Wind there, debuffing their attack. The opponent can boost it straight away with the Power Punch, and unfortunately they do get an Astonish farm down. But that's okay, I'm going to wait out my Switch Clock here, come back in with the Kabuto, as I can shield once and hopefully go for a full Mudshot farm down. Power Punch there, going to be shielded, and I am able to get that farm down, which is very nice. They come back in with the Amoonguss, I swap into my Shiftry, and they've actually got a triple Astonished team here with Klefki in the back. So I go straight for Leaf Blade. Leaf Blade, going to be no-shielded. It does just under half the health, and it is resisted damage, so that is very respectable there. I'm going to fire off another Leaf Blade, and at this point, I'm definitely going to use my final shield. The opponent is going to full send the Flash Cannon, which means I can now overfarm in this matchup. Go for the Leaf Blade. I'm hoping this is enough damage to get the KO. Leaf Blade actually barely doesn't, so I swap back into Kabuto, but the opponent reads me. They swap as well. They come back in with the Amoonguss, but Kabuto able to reach a last-second Aqua Jet. This is resisted damage, but it gets the KO there. One more Mud Shot, takes out the Klefki, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on there, into the next battle, see a Shadow Abomasnow in the lead. So, of course, this is an awkward matchup for both of us. I'm going to go straight for the Rock Tomb here, throw on CMP, win CMP with the Kabuto. Rock Tomb is going to grab a shield from the Shadow Abomasnow, and this one I'm just going to no-shield. I've grabbed the shield advantage, and they actually bait with an Icy Wind, but they swap into a Dugong. I just assumed it was going to be a Lapras, so I swap into my Shiftry, and that is a huge mistake here. But I fire off the Leaf Blade, going to be no-shielded. We throw on CMP as well, so this one I'm just going to let Shiftry go down, but Icy Wind actually does not take me out, which is not a huge deal, but it is a little bit annoying there because they do get slightly more energy. We're going to come back in with the Kabuto. I'm now going to go straight for the Aqua Jet, as I have to throw it immediately, otherwise they will reach a charge move. Aqua Jet going to be shielded by the Dugong, which is interesting. At this point, I'm going to no-shield. They actually bait with an Icy Wind, but they've got a Tropius in the back, so Shadow Abomasnow should be fine here. I realize it's just a Leaf Blade, but I no-shield, and that does too much damage. What am I thinking? I should have just shielded. I've got 2 shields, but at this point, the opponent will just be able to fully fast move, farm me down. But even worse, they can now go for an Icy Wind of their own, debuff my attack here, making it even harder for me to get the KO in this matchup. I go straight for Icy Wind, but Icy Wind, since I'm debuffed, doesn't do much damage. I'm going to swap out. The opponent swaps at the exact same time. We get a simultaneous KO, but they can Powder Snow, farm me down, and unfortunately, I do lose that game. However, if I, of course, just shielded up against that Tropius, I think I would have been fine. But either way, GG's top opponent there. Into the final battle of this video, we lead into a Shadow Cacturn. They're going to respond with a Lapras, and I'm going straight for Energy Ball. Of course, I baited up against Feraligatr, and it cost me big time. So this time, we full send the Energy Ball, and it does get shielded. But at least I grab a shield advantage in this matchup. Now, I could come in with Kabuto since it is going to be reasonably useless up against that Cacturn, but instead I realize I'm going to resist the Side Wave damage. I'm taking very little Fast Move damage here. I'm going to come in with the Shiftry. They do just go straight for Sparkling Aria, so that's fine with me. Then swap back into Shadow Cacturn. I'm firing off the Leaf Blade here. Leaf Blade going to be shielded by the opponent, and I could have thrown the next one straight away. However, I'm going to go for the extra Snarl. They go for a Trailblazer. I realize, of course, at this point, I might as well just throw the Charge Move straight away. Leaf Blade gets the KO. They come back in with the Lapras, and Shiftry able to reach another Leaf Blade here before they can reach a Charge Move. Leaf Blade gets the one-shot, and they've got Jellicent in the back. So Shiftry maybe could have swept the entire team, but I do swap out into Kabuto. We go straight for Rock Tomb. Rock Tomb going to debuff their attack. We throw on CMP as well, which is huge for me. If they went for the extra Hex, could have been a little bit tricky there. They do full send the Shadow Ball. That is the correct play on their end. But at this point, I can just safely shield up this Charge Move. They will reach one more Hex, but it's not enough damage to get the KO. But Rock Tomb is enough to take out the Jellicent, and I'm able to take that game. So that's going to be it for today's video. If you did enjoy it, please make sure you leave a like, leave a comment letting me know, and as well, don't forget to respond to the question of the day if you haven't done so already. And if you want to see more content like this in the future, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications. That way you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video. And if you want to take your support even further, you can now become a channel member with perks including early access to new videos, shoutouts at the end of each video, custom loyalty badges, and custom emojis to use in the comments. I want to say a massive thank you to everyone that has already become a channel member. Your support is greatly appreciated. And with that being said, thank you all so much for watching today's video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.